HTML5. So this is one of the most important slides, which is why should you as a developer care about HTML5? And when I say HTML5, once again, I mean the actual specification, right? So why should you care about HTML5? Well, first of all, as you can see in the slide, you won't really need plugins to do audio and video. You can also make your web apps run offline. You'll be able to do programmable graphics inside a web page without any kind of plugins, once again. You'll have much more sensible and much more semantically accurate tags that you could use in your web pages. You'll have a doc type which is quite sane, and you'll be less frustrated and more happy when you're making web forms. And we'll see point by point what we mean by all of these things. So if you look at this slide, which is a slide showing how you could embed a YouTube video inside a web page. Now I guess a whole lot of people have actually implemented this, have actually put in a YouTube video inside a web page. How many people just copy and paste this inside a web page? I guess most of them, right? Most people won't even recognize what's happening in this kind of code. It isn't really that elegant a piece of code. It's not readable, it's not maintainable, and it uses a plugin, which is the main thing. Plugins crash, plugins are not reliable, they don't run inside the browser as such, So one of the main goals of HTML5, once again, was to make sure that something as basic as video and audio, these things should be part of the web. Just like you have an IMG tag, for images, and since video and audio are so much a part of the web, they should be standardized when it comes to web development. And that was one of the main aims of HTML5 as well. So now you have something called a video tag, in which you can embed video and have it play natively within the browser. So how many people think that something like this, is much more simple, much more understandable, and much easier to just code without copy pasting? All this does, we have implemented a tag called the video tag. And if you look at this code, it just says video src is equal to myvideo.webm, and that's it. It's very, very, very simple, easy to learn, and easy to implement, right? That's the power of video. It's going to run inside the browser, and it's very, very easy to actually get a hold of it as a web developer. But that's not the only use of native video inside the web browser. One of the main use cases of having such an ability now is the fact that now you can actually combine it with different properties or different technologies to create whole new experiences that you could not with just Flash. For example, I'll just show you. Now this, okay, let me just, okay, so this is just a normal video playing inside a web browser. The code is simple. It just says video controls src is equal to video.ogg, right? The keyword controls means that whenever I hover over the video, these controls will pop up, right? If I don't have the keyword controls, then that won't happen, right? So that's all it is. And it works beautifully, no problem whatsoever, right? But that's not the only use case of video. You can combine it with different technologies. For example, there's a video like this. And what you can do is do something like this, right? So you can combine it with different technologies to move the video around, to make it transparent or translucent or whatever. There's another demo that I wanted to show you, which is this. So you have a video, but you can also do something like putting on a filter on top of it, so that you can apply different effects. For example, you have a filter which can make things blurred, but the original video is still intact. You can make things black and white, right? Or you can apply a filter which can trace the edges of the video, right? But all the time, the original video is unchanged. You're just applying different SVG filters on top of it to apply different effects to the video. So let's go around. Let's go back to the slide. So this was about online video, native video inside the browser, and how you can use different technologies to combine it and create new effects. Apart from that, let's move on. Yes, we saw an example of this. Now we come to something called offline web applications. The reason I'm mentioning this over here right now is the fact that when it comes to HTML5 and new technologies, offline applications are kind of divided into separate parts. So in the HTML5 specification itself, it deals with one part of making offline applications. And then the other part, the storing data part, is in some other specification itself. So when it comes to the HTML5 specification, it deals with how to store the files needed to run offline. Not the data, but the actual files, like the HTML file or the images or the CSS or the JavaScript files. All of these files, how will they be stored inside a web page or inside a browser, and what to do regarding that. Now, the trick is that you create a file called a manifest file. What this file does is, it's just a simple text file that you rename as .manifest, and over there the first line has to be this. The first line has to be cache manifest, right? If you want to put a comment, just put a hash in front of it. What you do then is just mention the HTML, the CSS, or the JS files that you need to be cached when the user is offline, right? So this manifest file is just providing a list of files that the browser needs to store in a separate special cache called the application cache, right? That's what it needs to do. The thing is, how do you link a manifest file to an actual web page? How do you do that? All you need to do inside a web page is say HTML manifest is equal to that manifest file, for example, demo.manifest, right? So whenever this happens, whenever a user is offline, they'll be able to view the web page, or load the web page, properly, just because those files mentioned in that manifest file are stored inside the browser, right? Which makes sense, because when you're making offline applications, you want not just the data to be there, but also the actual web pages to be there, right? You want the actual images to load, you want the actual CSS files to load, and not just the actual content within the application. And we'll come back to offline applications later on and see the other side of it, how to store the actual data. But that's a little bit later on.